first off, I absolutely love your OSS 117 movies. I mean, they were absolutely hysterical, and you have such a mastery with recreating a certain film styles that when just hearing about what you were doing with the artist, I knew that this was going to work. And the first reaction I had was, my God, what a brilliant idea! How come no one's ever thought of this before? So I give you kudos for even coming up with the idea of making an entire movie in black and white and silent. So the first question I'd like to ask you is, what is gained and what is lost in a silent movie as opposed to a talkie?
Well, I don't know exactly what you lose, because actually you can't go with a story too much complex without dialogues, because at a certain point in the relationship between characters you need dialogue. So you have to deal with a not simple story, but not too complex story. But what you gain is something very very special. The format makes room for the audience. I mean, there's no dialogue, there's no sound design, and so the audience makes a lot of things. I mean, they recreate a lot of the with the images. They do the sound, they do their own dialogues, they put voices, they imagine things, and
so the audience does a lot of work.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the less I do, the most they do, the better it is. So, but doing the work yourself as an audience, you really stick to the character, because you make characters yours and you make the story yours, and so you really close up the characters, the story, and it's a very special format. Really, I really love that format.
Now, how is your movie like the silent movies of the 20s? I mean, what are the similarities? Because we're living in a different century from when those were made, but how are they similar? How close is your film to what audiences in the 1920s and the very early 30s would have seen?
The surface is the same. It's black and white, there's no sound, but the theme are really different. The rhythm, the pace of the movie is really different.
Oh.
It's a modern movie.
Yeah.
It looks like an old one, and it recreates it's a period movie. But there's two things. It's a period movie, and the format is silent and black and white. But usually people think of the silent movie as old movie.
Yeah.
But that's true not because it's silent, not because it's black and white. It's true because they have been made in the 20s. That's the only thing that make them old, actually. So I make a modern movie, period, and black and white and silent. But the themes, I mean, the movie, for example, knows is silent. Back in the day, the directors didn't make silent movie; they make movies.
Yeah.
They didn't have the option. So knowing I'm doing a silent movie, I mean, there's a game with the audience.
Yeah.
And
how does the film express that? How does the film acknowledge that it knows that it's a silent?
There's a lot of game about silence and sound. And I play with the sound. I play with, for example, the opening sequence is a movie. The movie is about a silent actor, and the opening sequence is a movie in the movie, and the hero is in the villain cave, and they torture him, and they want him to speak, and he say, no, I won't say a word, and that's the kind of game, because he's a silent actor, and this is all the story is about. So,
I think that's very true. Now, you mentioned that you're not sure that anything is lost in a silent movie. So powerful is the movie in its sort of silent depiction. However, will you make another movie that's silent?
Well, maybe, but I have to find the good story. I mean,
okay.
I really enjoyed doing it, really, and it's a very special experience. And for a director, it's really the purest way to tell a story, because it's really something about cinema. I mean, it's images, music, and you tell a story. It's not, and this is the pure cinema medium specificity. So I really loved it, and even if I do talkie movies, I'm sure that experience will really serve me and help me for I hope for the next movies.
So you think, because at the surface, I think this feels like a film buff's dream. Somebody who loves movies will love seeing a movie that's recreated. But you actually think that it serves the story well for people that don't care a whit about silent movies. This will still be an effective movie, and not because it's silent, except for the fact that the aesthetic of the silence is what you're trying to bring across.
Yeah, I always try. You mentioned the OSS 117 movies, and I try to do the same. I always try to work on different levels.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a cinephile, if you're a movie buff, you're gonna appreciate a certain level, but that I don't want to occult other levels. And for example, the OSS 117, some kids, they were 8, and they're absolutely big fan, hugest fan of the movie. They really love it. They never seen a Hitchcock movie. They never seen a spy movie. But they love the movie, and I really appreciate that, to be able to work on different levels. And that's the same for this one. I mean, I didn't want to do a movie for universities, and that's it. I didn't want to do an experimental movie. I wanted to make a mainstream, silent, black and white movie. As paradoxical as it seems, but that was the goal.
Yes, and it's worked tremendously on that level. Now, you mentioned OSS 117. The actor who stars in those also stars in this. So talk to me a bit about Jean Dujardin. Is that how you would say his name?
Yeah, Jean Dujardin.
Okay.
Very French name.
Yes.
Yeah, it's my 3rd collaboration with him, and I really love to work with him. I mean, it's really his acting. I mean, I really love to work with that material for me. So I wrote the script with him and Bérénice Bejo, the co-star, with them in mind, and I really try to craft these characters for them. And the kind of acting, the kind of faces they have, it fits perfectly well with a silent format.
Yeah. See, that's what I want to ask you, is that so not only is the filming technique different, but is the acting technique different for these particular actors?
To me, not so much.
Okay.
I mean, you can't do, I can't imagine a movie where I will ask to, let's say, 40 or 50 actors to make something so specific. And actually, I think people make a small confusion, because when they think of silent movie and the acting of the silent movie, they think of the codes of acting of the 20s. And if you compare the codes of acting with the late 20s and the early 30s, it's the same codes of acting, but the late 20s were silence and the 30s were talkies. And then I don't think actors say, oh, now it's talkies, we're going to change the way we're going to act. They just, the sound was recorded, that's all. But the way directors conceived their movies changed a lot. So what I try to do is, the codes of acting of the 20s were natural for that period.
Right.
And I try to work in the same spirit. I mean, for example, I shot the movie in 22 frames a second, so that gives a small acceleration. The movie is a little bit high speed, and that gives to the actors that kind of flavor of the 20s, because they move a little bit high speed, so that's the way it works. And when I wrote the script, and that was really the most challenging part for me, I tried to imagine what I'm going to ask to the actors. Is it simple? Can they do it easily?
Yeah.
And and after that they have to inhabit, they have to embody the characters, and they have the costumes, they have the location, everything that. But in a way, it's the way they will do it. They would do it in a talking movie. It's the same to me. I think it's the same. At least I ask them the same thing.
So, just to clarify or understand what you said, so you said the people that are acting in silent movies in the late 20s and the people that acted in the talkies in the early 30s, they didn't act any differently.
Yeah.
But certainly people now in the 90s and the aughts and all of that, we now act differently. So did they act like, were they basically 21st century actors?
No. I casted actors who act. Their acting fits to that format. I mean, for example, there's some beautiful actors that play poker faces, stone faces. If you a great actor, Steve McQueen,
Yeah. Okay.
the way he acted, if you cut the sound, you can't imagine what he's saying because he doesn't move nothing.
Right.
But the lines are really, you really listen to the text because I mean he was really good. He was a great actor, but
Yeah.
his acting doesn't fit really for a silent movie because you don't understand what's going on.
Fascinating.
An actor like John Goodman, at the opposite,
Yeah.
who is in the movie, the way he acts, I mean, he expresses himself not only with the lines, but with his entire body, with his entire face. Everything says something when he acts. So I try to work with that kind of actors.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
But
fascinating.
I mean, they didn't. I didn't ask them to ape the acting of the 20s. They don't mug. They don't do faces. That's what they act really natural. There's
Right.
no. It's easily to look the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
to watch the movie. That's what I mean.
Now, I don't want to give too much away, but there are a couple of moments when your silent movie has sound. You actually
Yeah.
hear something. Can you talk about the decision to include that and why?
But yeah, that's what I was saying just before. I mean, the movie knows it is silent. So at a certain point, we can play with that. And I like to remind people, okay, it's silent, but if I want to make sound, I can make sound.
Right.
And nothing will stop me if I think it's good. And if I think it's entertaining and it means something, I can do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if we do, but actually we say silent, but there's music all the time. And
That's very true.
Yeah, it's a musical.
Yeah.
It's a musical in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
you have some sequences entirely silent, but usually there's music. I mean, it's a really accessible movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.